Hello YouTube friends, welcome to the Red Parrot channel. I am your host, Mary Ellen. This is another episode of echo printing and echo dyeing using the K3N Cloth Tales iron and tea method of dyeing. And if you've been following along, you will know that this is my second trial. And let's do a little bit of a refresh to see where we're at. We wrote down recipe number 1. And recipe number 1 was using this fabric that we transformed into this fabric by using instant coffee, pieces of rusted iron, tea, and salt. And we added 2 more things, which is time and a certain temperature, which I haven't put down. I did the time, but I didn't do the temperature. Well, I suppose I imputed it. It's implicit. So this is what we did. If you want to see the full look, there is another video that explains all this. And what I wanted to do, when Catherine did hers, she got a much lighter color, I think. So most of her fabric was more these tones and these tones, and I have a lot of sharp, dark tones. And when I did this, I heaved a lot of the instant coffee in, and I thought not only to myself, but I pronounced to the internet that I thought maybe coffee grounds was the thing that was making it this dark. And so we did a second test, and we will show you the results of that second test in the Mo. So this morning I did the undo, and I've finally gotten all the laundry done. The other important difference, I guess, is I also added this fabric, which is hideous. It's no, it's not hideous. What is it? It's not to my taste. That's what I'm going to say. It's not to my taste. I would use it maybe if it was a different color. So we will put these to the side because we don't need those anymore. Well, you know what we do? Because we did something different. Now the question is, did my change in method have any effect on the color? And I was, I would say, a good 80% confident that changing the coffee would change the color. So let's see what we have wrought. So we'll put this to the side here. Can you see that? You can sort of see it. There. So I have 4 sheets of this, and I have 2 sheets of that. Let's go with this first because that's really what our experiment is driven on. And here is sheet number 1. Ooh. This bit here is a piece of iron that I didn't use last time, and ooh, I love the color that this turned out. There's the grating again. So this is the top part, it was leaning on top of the grating. It went like that. And then it was folded over like that. That's exactly how it went. And you can see the differences in where things are. Curiously, this is the 2 bits, I think, that touch the surface. And oh, it even went down. So it went down 4 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, first question, is that materially different than any of these? Maybe. This is certainly lighter, but I would say the edges, the edges don't count because, why? Because they are sort of cramped. My pot isn't big enough for a flat sheet, so I have to sort of curl up the side of one, and so that's what's happening to the sides. So that's sample number 1. Here is sample number 2. A lot of salt in this one. A lot of salt splashes. Maybe a hair lighter. Just like a hair of a hair lighter. Maybe. But I think what is happening, it's not the coffee, it's the placement of the iron pieces. So this would have been the placement of one. I think that's a washer. And I used maybe a little bit less. And I think that might be what's doing this. But it is a hair lighter. A hair of a hair of a hair. A head of a head of a hair. But these are still pretty, like, amazing yummy. I am getting a shocking collection very quickly of this kind of dyed fabric. I'm not gonna lie. This is sheet number 4, possibly the backside. Yes, the backside. This one is sweet. I like this one too. Yeah, okay. Maybe it is a little bit, but again, less iron, I would say. What do I like about this one? I like some of this. You can sort of see how the water has sort of pooled there. This is weird, but fun. So you can see sort of dark, and then medium, and then light, and then white. So there's probably 4 tones, and then there's some rust in here as well. You can see some of the washers here. There's a piece of just it's not a stick, it's like but it's a piece of wire that's just like that. And a big old pool of salt. And it's neat how the front is different than the back. You know, one's a little bit more pronounced. The seeing water swirls is interesting as well. Like it just feels like it's fluid, which it is because we've soaked it in tea. So that's number 3. Beedly boo. Beedly boo. 3. And here's the last of the sheets. Also a little, just a hair lighter. Some more rust, some circles, another one of those sticks. This might be a nice side. You can see where that went. And then it should flip over-ish. So that would have come out there. And then that's where those 2 match. And it's gone through there, but didn't reach to there. But again, more nice patterning. Lots of variation. It is the same, but wickedly different. And the fun thing for me, well, one of the many fun things is if you were to do some slow stitching on this, the options you would have. So for example, let's say I'm going to just use like a 6x6 square here. That would be the cat. You could stitch around here and here. You could, you have something already laid down on the fabric that you can respond to, which is really fun. That, maybe the light, that almost looks green to me. That bit there. I wonder if that's oil. Oil residue anyways. There we are. And now our next, oh, I just heard a thud. That's Gracie maybe roaring back. So that's our experiment. This is a quarter of a sheet. Quarter? Half of a sheet. I could make an outfit with this. Well, not a complete outfit, but I am going to keep this, and yeah, you can. Let's just do a little flip through the random bits. It's a hair lighter. So I would think that if I were to do this experiment again, don't think I am, because I'm going to have way too much material. What I would do is reduce the amount of iron, and I might change the salt, because those are the two pieces that I think might be seriously contributing to that. But there we are. So we've got those. Now to the question of what happened to this. Did this process make this fabric better, no change, or worse? And we know that it has probably taken up some kind of color, but what's the result? Luckily, you don't have to wait any time at all. I had to wait 24 hours. This is the result. So clearly changed the color. And I think changed the color to the better. Woo. But this kind of looks like a dirty rag, quite frankly. The back is better. I'd use the back, because it's got that, instead of a white tone, it's got a pinkish tone. Yeah, this is, I'm not a fan. Not a fan, but a fan of this. So I think what I'm going to do is just fold this up neatly and say this is now the new right side. So I'm thinking this is probably good base material. That, oh, look at that. That right there, doesn't that look like a rabbit's nose? With the little cheeks there, and then the nose V there, and then just the start of the eyes. Oh, that's adorable. Oh, little bunny. Okay, and then number 2, which is this. Equally hideous, I think. Not a fan. Oh, that's fun though. Fun pattern. But it just looks like it's dirty, like a dirty rag, like a somebody who works with industrial equipment, and it's their grease rag. But we flip it over, and not awful. So I think it's this side that wins. But there we are. So now I have more than enough material. Absolutely curiosity satisfied. More than enough supply. And I think what we should do, so I will, should I do it now or offline? Let's talk about this a bit, because I think it bears discussing. So this is test number 2. And it was February 4. And this is the pen that didn't work. It's teasing me. Okay, so this, I'm just gonna plunk it on the floor. And need a pen. Oh, stars and garters. Careful what you say. I know it, babe, I know it. There may be a slight food issue as well that's happening. Okay, so test number 2. So what did we do? We did 12 bags of Thai Fu. That is too light. How about this one? Yeah, we did a 4-cup water. 5-minute boil. We did a fast tea dip. Layered on the iron pieces. So now here is the change. So what I did was I ground the instant coffee. Instant coffee is kind of this crumbly substance, and I ground it into a bit of a dust. Well, it was dust. So ground coffee crystals into dust, and then used a light dusting of coffee. Ground instant coffee. And we added the salt. And then we did layer, layer, layer. We covered. Only 24 hours. And then see previous laundering process. And then we have a title for what this is. Okay. I want something that's a little, I've got a red grease pencil. It's so much fun to use a grease pencil for the reason that it was intended. So that's the change. That's the only change that we did. I am going to say this because not everybody has the opportunity to be in a lab or to participate and see science up close. This is literally what science is. You start with an idea, you try it out, you create a baseline, and then you just iteratively test and test and test and test. And that's why research is expensive. Well, one of the reasons why research is expensive, because you have to do things over and over and over again. And while this result doesn't have any real appreciable difference, one might say, oh, it is a failed experiment. It is not a failed experiment because we have more knowledge now doing the second one than we did with the first because we wrote it down. And that is, when you change the amount of coffee, given all of these circumstances, you get very little change. So as opposed to understanding what does work, you know now what doesn't work. And the doesn't is as important as what does. But we quite often will approach science and say, well, it didn't work, so it's a fail. A scientist would not say that it's a fail because they have more information and they have a methodology and they have avenues for inquiry and so on and so forth. So if I were to do this test a third time, is my willpower not to try it a third time, but there might be a new sheet that falls into my hands, and there may be a circumstance, let's say, where I will do a test 3. Test 3, I won't be necessarily concerned with the coffee, but I would, let's do the map. So we have salt. We have coffee, we have the iron, we have the fabric, we have temperature, we have time, So we kept all of these the same, and we changed coffee, and we got about the same result. So we might go, oh, well, coffee doesn't have an effect. I want to keep the fabric the same, because, or as close to the same as possible, which is 100% cotton. This is going to be the visual way for us to detect, did it work or did it not? So we are not going to change this. So we're left with either changing the salt or changing the iron. Iron is iron, so it might be the quantity. The type or quantity. This is a room temperature experiment, and the time is 24 hours. So we could reduce the amount of time, only do it for say 12 or 8 or 6 or something. We can change the salt, so that could be the concentration, the amount and the type. I was thinking also that we have, what kind of salts do we have? We have table salt, regular table salt. I used the Himalayan pink salt. In Canada, anyways, we have rock salt, which is the very coarse salt that you throw down on the sidewalks to melt snow and ice to prevent slipping. So we have options of changing the type of salt. Like I say, I think iron is iron. But I certainly used a lot, and I used that one plate. I could reduce that. I had other iron pieces around the edges that I could remove that. I could be very restrained is the right word about the use of iron. So I have lots of options for doing not only a second test, a third test, but a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 to be able to land on something that is, oh, this is the result that I want. But a result that I want is only going to be as good as, what am I going to do with it once I get the thing done? And at the moment, I don't know that I have anything else to do, so I'm going to stop here. So that's a little about life in the lab, and it's also the results of this echo printing. So I hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to take my notes and also Catherine's original video and try something for yourself. It is fairly easy, fairly straightforward. The only thing that I would absolutely suggest that you do is wear gloves, because iron is sort of, rusting is a corrosion. There is tea, which is at a high concentration, and that's an acid. We're dealing with salts, and salts dry out your hands. And if you are in the immersion of that and you're playing around, you're going to dry out your hands. And if you have any little tiny like paper cuts or anything, it's going to sting. So that is all for now. As ever, thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate your company. My outro, what is my outro? Take care of yourself and stay out of trouble. Talk to you soon. Bye now.